So voice and voice over Wi-Fi is another big area that we're able to analyze inside of OmniPeek. And I have, a stored trace file. It's easier for things like voice. And the area we come into is this voice and video area right here. There's calls and media. We also have a voice and video dashboard, but I'm only looking at a single call here. So there's not that much to look at in the dashboard. But the dashboard will tell us what the total packet loss is, the voice packet loss. It'll rate the call, rated this call as poor, and go here and see what that is, right? Poor is a mean opinion score that's I think in the 2 to 3 range, and then we'll graph our mean opinion score here. And again, it's just for the one call, number of calls, number of megabits. So it's more useful when there's a large number of calls, but more to the point, we can come into a call's view for that particular call, highlight the call, and then come into our details, and we do a tremendously detailed analysis of what goes on behind the voice over IP call. So we've highlighted that call, and then we can see everything about this call, the number of control packets, the control flows, the signaling flows, the number of signaling packets, our lowest MOS score, 2.9, which hence I get the poor call rating, start and finish time for the call, the codecs that we use, the bit rate, and we can do this for each and every call on the network, whether it's voice over IP or whether it's voice over Wi-Fi. We're going to see and then analyze all of this detail about the call. We do it in several ways.
I just had a question. This is great. Can you split screen and show roaming event for the phone and the call's MOS score side by side?
Roaming event? You mean if it roamed, or?
Yeah, so you had, the previous little talk was about we could track the roaming events by device.
Right.
And here you're showing the call for a device.
Right.
The MOS score might have dropped because it roamed, and then if you could line them up by time, you could...
Or exclude the roam event and see what that does to the MOS score, or...
Yeah.
Because that would accomplish, I think, the same thing, right?
Right. And we probably didn't roam in this, but what we could do in that case is we could come in and do a select related packets for the call, right? And then it's going to put those in a separate buffer. And then once they're in a separate buffer, we could then go back to the roaming view. And of course, if it roamed, we would see it in there.
Yeah.
And we'd see how many times it roamed in there. So, a good way of using kind of the filtering to go down and do it that way. But we don't have a way of overlaying them at the moment.
But you can double click on any one of those. If you double click on, not that one, double click on the VoIP.
Into the call, right.
And so, right there.
And we want to go back to the calls. And then you're saying to get the bounce diagram.
Nope. Go back to the navigation and double click on calls. And so now, where'd that go?
You'll always get any expert events that happened. But
right. So grab the tab at the top and drag it.
That one?
Yeah.
Where do you want it?
Then I want it to drop onto the main screen. Drop it. And say new horizontal.
So you could get another window.
Yeah, you can split things that way if you want to.
Select the log.
Go to the calls or the voice log. Right.
Right. So there you go, split screen. And so you can split it horizontally or vertically, like that. And this is our tabbed mode. In the workspace settings, you can go into a non-tabbed mode, and then it's all freeform, and you can put the windows wherever you want.
Can you go back to, when you double-clicked, you brought up a ladder diagram?
Yeah, so that's, hang on, let me go back to calls. It was the other thing that I wanted to show you about VoIP. So besides what we showed in the details, you can actually double-click on the call, and we'll bring up a ladder diagram of the call, kind of packet by packet. So all the black arrows are the signaling packets for the call, and then we kind of group together the media packets in here, and then kind of give you a little thumbnail graph of the R factor and the jitter for the call and how it ranges. So in this particular call, like we said, it was bad, right? Well, in this particular call, we can kind of get a feel for why it was bad. Right in the center of the call, the jitter kind of went all crazy and then flattened back out again.
I would love to see like a retry rate as another line instead of jitter, or a data rate or some.
Well, isn't that what the red drops on the bottom are? Right, because you have 3 colors represented there, right? You have green and then some sort of a blue and then a red.
Right.
And what is the red?
think the red indicates individual packets, and that's why there's, that was kind of the packet flow. So I think you can kind of, and then that's here where there's the big separation, right? Something here went on where it's again representing packets where everything kind of got really spread out right there, and I think the red is just indicating where we got each of the individual packets that we got the data from.
Question for you about the windows that you were going through there. If you were working with this with a remote capture and you wanted to do 2 separate screens, can you start up 2 separate instances of OmniPeek to have it on 2 separate screens?
So really you could, but you can, more so than that, you would just, I think, just do multiple captures from within OmniPeek, and you could put them on separate screens.
I'm talking about working with looking at 2 separate instances of OmniPeek. You're looking at one screen, say for this, another screen to see the packet flow as it's actually flowing past, if you're wanting to have it on 2 separate physical screens.
Well, I have 4 screens.
Probably do it. I was going to ask him because he's got 4
I
screens.
take OmniPeek and I go and I stretch it all across 4 screens, and then I can run as many captures.
Rather than setting up starting multiple versions.
Yeah, so you could in the default mode, OmniPeek is a run once application. So no matter how many times you click, it's still gonna be the same application. But there is a registry setting you can set, and then multiple instances of OmniPeek can come up. And so you could do that.
Because Excel does that by default too. It's all one interface, but you can start up a second Excel instance to put it in a separate screen if you want.
That's right. Yep. So you can do that here as well.
So which protocols for voice do you guys support?
SIP.
It's a long list.
H323.
Support Cisco Skinny?
We do.
Skinny, yes. That was more recent.
The other big one is Avaya, all the Avaya protocols. So those are out from the vendor perspective, those are the biggest ones, Cisco, Skinny, and Avaya. But then anything that's standard SIP we support. For the things that go non-standard SIP, then it depends if we know about it, and then we can work it into the next release. We do that. Every now and then there's people that take SIP and add a couple of packets at the front, or that kind of thing, or a couple of bits at the front that kind of changes things for us. But yeah. And the other thing that we can do in VoIP is we can also break things down into each individual direction. So on these VoIP calls, right, a lot of times it's things will go in take different paths. So from the caller to the callee and back, it may take different paths. So that's where we look at things strictly from the media perspective. And if we come in and then look at the details from this perspective, we get more details about the media, right? We're going to get the mean opinion score broken down into different categories: the listening quality, the conversational quality, the predicted quality, the nominal quality. We'll see things like our one-way delay, our packet loss, etc. So you can compare it against R factor numbers, and then you can do a comparison to see, for a particular call, is one direction worse than the other? And certainly in this is one of those cases, right? This is where we're getting our low mean opinion score. It's really more in one direction where we're experiencing the problems.
Is it R factor that's the mathematical one?
R factor is more of it's a calculated value, right? Well, they're both, and nowadays they're both calculated, but MOS really comes from the old days when people listened to calls and rated them, and the calculation tries to mimic that as much as possible. R factor does that, but also tries to work in things like jitter and packet loss into the calculation.
Is QoS markings on there? I might miss it. I don't see any.
So we don't have those here, but we have experts for QoS, and when QoS is not marked, so those experts will come up and tell you that. So, and again, when we were back in this expert event area, if there was an area where quality of service wasn't here, right, not RTP not marked for quality of service. So, we know that in this call, for sure, in that leg of the call, that there was at least some packets that were not marked for quality of service. So to do that, we would then want to go back into a packets view and look at the column and see where that quality of service tag was missing. Let me see. The one last thing about VoIP is if you're really interested, you can also even play back the call. Hang on, I think we should probably play the whole call and make more sense.
Now, Jay, in order to do that, you'd have to have the encryption, right? I mean,
if it's over an encrypted network or an encrypted call, you would need to do that, right? But and it just plays back through media player. So So that's and the same thing applies to voice over IP, Vo-Fi, really kind of anything. So I think that was from a a demo perspective. That was most of what I had. I mean, I really wanted you guys to see the AC side of things, etc. So I think with that, I'm going to go back.
So for the decrypting the call, do you guys just support pre-shared key, or is there an option to do .1x as well?
So yeah, today if it's Vo-Fi, it all has to be pre-shared key, whether it's WPA2, WPA, all pre-shared key.
And you have to capture the handshake.
You have to capture the handshake, right?
Are you able to do anything with like link traffic, Microsoft Link?
We don't do anything specific with Microsoft Link, in terms of voice over IP, or is that?
Yeah.
Not specifically. If it's SIP based, we would pick it all up.
I believe it's just a TLS encrypted SIP is
SIP,
what they're
yeah.
using for it. Yeah.
So we'd capture all of the packets, be able to do all the voice or all the metrics. We wouldn't be able to play it back if it's encrypted, unless we would to know those keys.
Could you show, since you're in demo mode there, some wireless statistics on health, like retry rates, ratios of data to control and management?
Go back to.
You might want to start up Compass from the. It got turned off at some point, I think. You might want to go tools options.
Right. Forgot about that.
Right there.
So let me see. From a retransmission rate perspective, we can always graph that from within Compass. So we can see our retransmissions. It's just going to start to recalculate now.
No, you only got a small portion selected.
Yeah, it's over here. Oh, right. So there you go. But I'm not sure.
Select all.
There we go. In terms of overlaying things, we would probably do that more in our graphs area, where we can go and if we do I have one for retransmission here?
At the bottom.
Yeah.
Well, I've got a really good example for overlaying in Compass.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, just as a workflow, and it's a feature in Compass that you actually didn't mention. You notice in Compass there's a couple of different graph types. You can actually, maybe not today. You can select different graph types, and let's say you're going to graph a couple of nodes that you want to follow. You could select total as the bar, as a bar chart, and then you could switch to line graph or dot graph, and then select other types of things like individual nodes in that different style, in order to see different graph types on the same graph at the same time. And that's really useful for really emphasizing, you see the total and then you see different things. Or you could do the same thing with protocols, where you want to see beacons as one type of graph, and some other protocols another.
Will you guys ever integrate Spectrum in any way?
We have done some of that in the past, but with a company called Cognio, who then got purchased by Cisco. So we lost that integration.
I think we certainly think about it often. If we did it at all, we'd end up being back through MetaGeek, because that's really the only option for us today. I know we like the guys at MetaGeek too. And
We have a Twitter question about the VoIP call. Was it just pulled from the air, or were you connected to the AP and scanning?
so in that was a packet file. So it was neither of those. But we can collect the voice if it's voice over Wi-Fi. We can collect it from the air. And that originally that packet, that's the way that was done. So a fellow was sitting in his home office with capturing it from the wireless side.
Do you have to be connected to that access point, or you just listening in general?
No. As long as OmniPeek is just close enough and in listening mode, it will pick up the packets from the call.
And obviously, if the VoIP call is roaming from one AP to another, you'd need AP
Multi-channel
channels be
capture.
capturing on different
You
channels.
need to be on the different channels and kind of be positioned in the right place, right? So that you're, as they move, that they're not moving too far away from you so that you can still capture the packets. I forget where we were. Oh, Spectrum. And we do talk to the guys at MetaGeek about it a lot. And it doesn't come up, surprisingly, as often as it used to, but it certainly would be the right direction to take things in terms of integrating Spectrum.
I see a couple of tabs up there. Access points by trust and clients by trust. What's the category trust?
Is that somebody's foot?
So when we're in the wireless LAN view, and right now we're back on the AC just looking at that, but it makes it a little easier because there's a lot less traffic. So trust is something that I can set per access point or per user. So I can set...
So it's like if you're a rogue or not. And
Right.
So you have like an ACL that lists max and trust category.
Right. And we could just go set them.
And that all gets set in our name table, which you can bring up separately, and you can name your nodes differently, give them different colors, categorize them as servers or clients. And so, in fact, many of you were asking about colors earlier. We saw the protocols being colored differently. You can select a particular color for any of the nodes in your name table as well.
One color, client's a different color.
That's right.
Yeah, Keith, one way I use it is that when I do my beta testing, I use some of the same clients all the time. So then I have like iPad 1, 2, and 3. So this way I know where the packets are coming from. I don't have to remember the MAC address.
I think that there's a capture up there that's...
The only thing is, the only way I can get that to raise to the top, I always have to put a 1 in front of it,
OmniPeek.
right?
Oh, to sort it.
To sort it, yeah.
Not to misbehave.
One iPad 1. One iPad 2.
There you go, yeah.
Try Bangworks too.
I haven't
So,
tried that.
OmniPeek's obviously a overwhelming product. Let's be frank about it, right? Some of your competitors offer product-specific training and certification for those products. Do you have anything other than participating in like the CWMP programs for like CWAP and those other analysis level certifications? Do you have anything product specific as far as training and then validation of that training that is WildPackets branded?
Absolutely, we actually do. We actually have. We used to do a lot of public classes that way. We don't do them so much anymore because people don't seem to be that interested in that form of training. But we have like a 201 through 204 series of courses on the wireless side. They can be taught over the web, and which is actually a lot of the ways we do it nowadays. We've actually started to transition some of them to being self-paced even. So we've recorded them so that people can just take them on a self-paced basis. They come back, there's tests at the end, and they can become certified, WildPackets certified on the product. It's actually pretty popular. And a lot of times we'll even offer it, we'll offer, training credits with purchases of the product or multiple purchases of the product, multiple licenses, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and for free, I don't know if you guys seen the channel, but Jay has a ton of YouTube videos up there.
Yeah, there's a lot of YouTube videos. Yeah.
No, I haven't seen that.
So, but for formal training, people can go that route, and it's and we can do it on site. We have all of those options are available, but certainly there's the training is certification as well as part of it. And we do find that it's much easier for somebody once they do that. People, you're right. People get a little overwhelmed with OmniPeek, and at the beginning don't know everything that it can do, and don't even realize a lot of those kind of features, like when you're in, well, even just in the package view, things like the right click. It might not be something that naturally occurs to you to right click, and as soon as you right click, a whole host of options become open to you, and you're like, whoa, wasn't thinking that, and there's a lot of options there, and then even when you come in, there's more options. So there's a lot there, and once people do training, it really opens up a world for them in terms of using OmniPeek.
You just keep clicking on stuff that makes me interested. Right click.
See, it's just exactly to his point.
Right click again, and up at the top it had a decode reassembled PDU. Is that like a Mac PDU for a Wi-Fi, or is it a different use of the PDU?
So what we do there is we reassemble fragmented packets into the whole packet. So packets are typically 15, 18 bytes, but a response from a URL could be much bigger than that and spread out across lots of different packets. that will reassemble all those and show you it as a single decode.
But it's not a MAC layer PDU. It's the IP payload that comes.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah.